Hello, greetings. Thank you for joining us. My name is Mike Brabo. I'm your host here at NewCloudMedia blog. I want to thank our partners at My Debt Cloud Media and welcome our guest, Peter DeRosa.
Thank you, Mike. Thanks for having me.
Welcome, Peter. You are a retirement planning specialist and you've been in this industry 15 years and you provide services in financial planning and also retirement planning. And I believe you work in 27 states. Is that correct?
Yes, sir, that is.
Okay, terrific. So in today's economy, how are you practically helping people?
In today's economy, Mike, a big part of what we do is help individuals to find inefficiencies in their current processes and plans and create more jobs for the dollars that they have available. Most people are not receiving pay increases or raises. It's harder to earn extra money right now. So one of the biggest obstacles that we have found that really has become a primary focus of our practice is to help people become debt free. And by focusing in on eliminating debt, we're able to free up roughly 30% more money for individuals to be able to spend on whatever it is they need, whether it's an increase in the standard of living or being able to save for those objectives of retirement.
Okay, excellent. Now, your debt elimination and your estate planning, that sounds really interesting. How does that work?
So we do both estate planning and the debt elimination process. They kind of go hand in hand when we look at creating a plan completion, right? Being able to make sure that we don't leave any gaps or exposures to our clients. So how it works is we focus in on running a free income gap analysis. It helps individuals to be able to review where they're at. We get all the information where money's at as far as, where do they have debts? Do they have this credit union, that credit card company, that mortgage? We assimilate all that information into our software and we're able to put together a report to show what if you did things a little differently? What if you used our debt action plan and our process instead of the process that you're on? And typically what we find and most people find is that their debts are paid off 2 to 3 times faster than if they just keep doing what they're doing.
That's terrific. That's terrific. And so for your services and assisting families to get out of debt more quickly, what is the cost to the average consumer for your educational budgeting services? How are the payments structured?
It's a good question. So we're paid just like if you went to the bank and you bought a financial instrument at the bank, right? They represent several different companies at the bank, and whichever company is a good fit for you, that's how they ultimately receive the compensation. Same exact process for us. So to the clients, to the prospects out there, 100% of your money goes to work for you. We're not interested in asking for people to put money up front. We provide educational service up front. First, it's about a 45-minute introduction call. Get to know us, get to know our process, get to understand how and what we're doing. And if that makes sense, we take the next step, which is, once again, a little bit more fact finding, diving a little deeper into what's going on, the nuts and the bolts of their individual situation. And then at that point in time, we start talking about numbers, right? But we're more interested in any plan that we present, any solution that we bring has to fit the client's budget. They have to be able to feel comfortable with it. We're talking about making a major life change, and we do not want people stressed on any level with that. So it's critical that they have not only the understanding, but the financial buffer in place to be able to support that change. So we make sure that there's an emergency fund in place. We make sure that they have an agent that they like, that they're going to be able to work with for the next few years and paying off their debts. But typically we're seeing people becoming debt free, between 5 and 10 years.
Excellent. That is tremendous. And so how are you able, and how do you determine what clients are that you're best able to preserve What type of clients are you best able to serve?
So we can serve a very large segment of of America. We're able to help people basically from ages 26 to 67. Now we can help people on either side of that, younger people and older people. But ideally, it's Main Street America. It's people who are out working, trying to figure out how to make a go of it in this crazy inflationary economy. People that we can't help. Let me just stress this: I can't help you if you're upside down. If you have negative cash flow, you're upside down, you have no more dollars for anything, there are better services. And our team, we do have connections with various groups to help assist you and connecting you with the professionals to meet your needs if that's your situation. And we will tell you, we're more interested in making sure that people get out of debt. That's our primary goal here.
Okay. Okay. That's good to know that what the options are. How did you yourself get involved with serving clients in this way?
So my practice when I first started in the industry was focused in on working a lot with teachers. I first started off with retirees, um, and realized that just they don't have any money. And most of the retirees on Social Security, there is nothing extra. They don't even get the cost of living increases that are promised by Congress every year. And it just was a very depressing state. And then I began to work with teachers for about another 5 years after that. And that really opened my eyes to how little money teachers have. And it's like, well, where's the money going? And it's life. And there's no extra anywhere. So when you try and help these people save for retirement and there's no extra anywhere, it's like, well, what do we do? We can't create more money for our clients. The only solution that's left is to find a more effective process, more efficient, what means to save and to grow our money. Now, I wound up working a lot with federal employees over the last few years, and I noticed the same thing, same trend there. And I began to see some benefits that they were doing, and that kind of opened the door to say, hey, there's a process. We just need to add a couple of different financial tools to this process, and I think it could really help a lot of people. So about 2019, we began to piece together our whole process of creating our debt action plan and the My Debt Cloud program. At that time, we were in the early stages of development and testing, and working through all the kinks in our process. And COVID came along. So when COVID happened, we pretty much decided, you know what, this might not be the best time to launch all of this. So we kind of just shelved it for a little bit. And then, we got on the other side about 2021. We started to reopen this because actually after COVID, more people had debt than people going into COVID. Everybody, because whether they were out of work for a week or months or whatever the situation, or maybe they're not working in the office anymore, maybe they're just working remotely, they took pay cuts. And so people have even less resources to work with. So that kind of started our whole process, and it's really only grown from there. So we're happily serving about about half the country now, about 27 states, 28 states. Our goal is to be in all 50 states, hopefully by the year's end in 2024 or the very first quarter of 2025.
That's great. That's great. Do you provide other services beyond the debt program and the financial planning?
We do. We have some other additional insurance services that we provide. And obviously, the estate planning is another piece to the whole puzzle. We like to ask people, well, let me just ask you, Mike. Mike, so if something bad were to happen, say you were in a car accident or you had a stroke and you couldn't communicate anymore, right? Do you have the documents in place to be able to relieve all of the financial companies where you have your 401k, your retirement pension, even Social Security? Do you have the documents on file that relieves them of the liability to allow somebody else to make those financial decisions for you?
Okay.
Most people will say no. Most people don't have all those documents together. So a big part of what we do, it's not about estate planning where people think, oh, it's about dying and passing on a legacy. That's a small piece of it, because literally most people don't die the first time that an accident happens, or they live for quite a while. So we want to focus in on where are their gaps in what people are looking at. And one of the biggest gaps that we have found is people have not thought about, well, if I can't talk, how are financial decisions going to be made on my behalf, and where's the liability lie? If
Right.
there's nobody in place, then you get a court-appointed guardian. It's a
Wow.
conservatorship that's established.
Mm.
And so when I say court-appointed guardianship, there should be two things that pop into your head.
Mm.
Number one, the court system. You know how slow that moves. And number
Yeah.
two, a court-appointed a guardianship or conservator. That's going to be an attorney. That means lots of time and lots of money to solve the problem. And on the
Wow.
other side, you might not agree with how that money is being spent. So by
Mm.
taking a little bit of time on this side of everything and putting plans into place to protect you and your loved ones, that goes a long way with seeing people actually be able to execute their wishes for retirement or their joys for life.
Wow, that's great question. Something that each of us need to think about and make sure that we have those things in place. So, in closing, Peter, how can people get involved and get the process started for accessing your services?
Well, the first step, whether working with myself or one of our team, is to go on to www.mydebtcloud.com and to book a session. It's going to be about 45 minutes long. That session is going to be with a debt elimination specialist. They're going to go over the education first and foremost. So the first 45 minutes, there's nothing to buy. You couldn't buy it if you wanted to. It's about educating you on what's available. Okay. After you have the education, what our next step will include is setting a second appointment and sending a fact finder out for you to complete so we understand where's everything at. In order for us to solve the equation of how to get to the fastest route to zero, we need to know where the assets are. We got to know where all the debts are. We got to know what we're working with, how much money. And then we put together a plan. And then on our second appointment, there's still nothing to buy. We're going to present to you your options, where you're at today, what's it going to look like, what can you do to make it better? And then if you like everything that you see and you hear, then on that third appointment, there might be an opportunity to make a decision to work with us. But we're talking about 2 appointments and at least 2 hours of conversation and education
Mm.
before we ever talk about money as far as compensation. Let's put it that way. So the first step, like I said, is to go on to mydebtcloud.com and book an educational appointment there and then meet up with one of our staff. And then just depending upon the variables with what you're looking for and how we can best help you, we'll determine where we go from there.
All right. Well, terrific. Well, Peter, thank you very much for your time today. Today's show was sponsored in part by Peter DeRosa on behalf of NewCloudMedia. I want to thank you for joining us today, and please visit www.mydebtcloud.com to learn more about today's show. Well, Peter, thank you very much for all that you've shared today. It's been very insightful and provides much to think about in how to better position ourselves and make sure that our family is protected. So, with that, thank you for joining us. Today's show was sponsored in part by Peter DeRosa on behalf of NewCloudMedia. I want to thank you for joining us today, and please visit www.mydebtcloud.com to learn more about today's show. Thank you.
Thanks, Mike.